March 17th of 2016, I woke up and I had been awake off and on all night because I hadn't heard from my daughter. I remember at 8:15 the knock at the door, and I knew that Rachel wouldn't have knocked. I remember the shiny badges just kind of blinding me, and I remember just asking, "Is she dead?" And he said, "I'm sorry to inform you there was a single car rollover accident on I-25 and she didn't survive."
On February 2nd, 2014, my 16-month-old son, Kelby, passed away from something called sudden unexplained death in childhood. Perfectly healthy little boy, went to sleep and didn't wake up. As a mother, you think, I'm gonna know when something happens, and I was just sleeping. I was in another room.
After he had given me the details of what had happened, he asked me if I had, wanted someone to come over and to help us with this transition, just to kind of help us to know what to do next. I'm not sure if I said yes or if somebody else did, but luckily for me, 3Hopeful Hearts showed up at my house.
After he was pronounced dead, we went and talked to 2 detectives, and in that room with those detectives was a representative from 3Hopeful Hearts, and that was Kristen Glenn. She was explaining that, the police were going to be at my house, and when you lose a child here, and in most states, they treat it as an investigation, and they have to make sure everything's okay. Kristen was very, kind in saying, hey, you don't have to do this right now. You don't have to answer these 50 million questions. They can come back, they can do it again.
I remember, hearing, well, you need to call the funeral home and you need to organize the funeral and you need to get a picture for the obituary and you need to this and that. And there were so many different things. And at one point, I remember texting Betsy very late at night, like 10 at night, and said, "Do you remember when I have to have the picture to the funeral home?" And she texted me right back and told me when and gave me a timeline and said that she could meet me at the church and she was willing to help me with any of the arrangements. They really just helped me with so many things that I wouldn't have known to even have to do. I mean, I wouldn't have even known where to begin or how to start, and I don't even know where she found half of the pictures that she found that she had for the video that she showed at the funeral. It was beautiful.
Our daughter Scarlett passed away at 38 weeks from a cord accident.
Betsy actually stopped by our house the day after we came back home from the hospital, which was really nice.
Yeah, she was just right away just such a beacon of hope for us. I don't think we'd be where we are today without 3Hopeful Hearts.
3Hopeful Hearts, in my mind, provides resources and that immediate support of grief companionship to a family. We are there to walk with them in whatever way they need us, and that can be helping them with who can we call right now to be with you. We can help with funeral arrangements. We can help them with what do you do? What's the next step right today?
We have worked with hundreds of families, so we do know some ways of guidance. A good thing to remember is that they've never done this before, obviously, so that if we can offer them any mentoring and companioning during these darkest times, they'll forever remember it, and it will forever change their grief journey.
I received a phone call from the funeral home, and this gentleman called and said, I just wanted to let you know that I knew this family had been working with 3Hopeful Hearts right away when they came in, because they didn't have that deer in the headlights look. They actually had a list of questions to ask, and they were extremely afflicted with grief, but they knew what to expect. One of the beautiful things about 3Hopeful Hearts is that we collaborate so well with the local hospitals and the local funeral homes and the first responders.
3Hopeful Hearts has that first initial impact, that they soften the blow to the extent that they can. They begin developing a relationship with families, and they are able to help walk with a family through an incredibly difficult, awful time in their lives. Kristen dropped everything on Super Bowl Sunday and came over to the hospital to help out a family, and that really kind of exemplifies 3Hopeful Hearts. They will drop anything at any point in time to come and provide support and to be there for families, which is so huge, and that really truly speaks to who they are.
Sometimes it's very difficult as hospital staff to be able to do your hospital role on top of then trying to also provide that emotional support that these families need during these times. And so that's what Betsy and Kristen and the 3Hopeful Hearts team is there to do.
3Hopeful Hearts has a child loss support group that has actually kind of broken into different groups now.
We've had families come to our remembrance run we have every year, and we have a walk to remember, and they bring t-shirts, they bring teams, they run and honor their child. Somebody's workplace can actually sponsor a team and run for their coworker's child.
They do training every year with the Department of Human Services, Fort Collins Police. We do a joint training on serious bodily injury and child death investigations, and how we need to really be aware of our words and our interactions and our vocabulary when we're talking with families.
So Camp Braveheart came about to help those children connect with other kids that had been through a loss, and that have it be a fun day, but also address their grief in a kid-appropriate way. Their parents are different. They've lost their child, they've lost their sibling, and they've also lost their parents. And we started with just 14 children. We just had our 4th camp, and we had 54 children, and we had our first overnight. The National Guard brought tents, which was so cool, and they even left us a guard for the night. But it was a beautiful event. It's grown. We now collaborate with Pathways, and we collaborate with Community Grief Center in Greeley. And they kind of we all bring all of our children together, and it's now for any youth that has lost a caregiver or a sibling.
3Hopeful Hearts gave me what I needed the most at a time when I didn't know I needed it.
I could go on for days and days to talk about how wonderful 3Hopeful Hearts is, and I think it's been such a blessing for me personally, because I feel like I've really been with them since their start, to see the growth that they've had, and for them to become, a nonprofit, and the number of families that they've helped in our community has just been amazing to witness.
In many ways, 3Hopeful Hearts saved my life.
I always wonder what that experience would have looked like without 3Hopeful Hearts, because it was super challenging and super hard for both of us, and that was with the support meetings and with Betsy.
I have been a much better person and have been able to live life and to move forward in my life and to actually find meaning and find hope in my life after the loss of my daughter.